Yeah, I think the dominance just kind of reiterates how the SEC is going after so many of the alts and calling them securities, and it's basically a combination of people being very hesitant to put money into the Cardanos, the Maddox, those kind of things, and saying, okay, well, which one's the safe one where the SEC's basically said it's not a security, that's Bitcoin. Then you throw into the mix that kind of the news from BlackRock over the last week where they're like, hey, we're going to file for a spot at ETF. And we have actually seen multiple other big Wall Street financial institutions filing for these Bitcoin ETFs. So it does seem like everyone that's giving confidence to people being in Bitcoin. And that dominance reflects that, I think.
There is at least $27 trillion of assets managed by major U.S. financial institutions that are also actively seeking to provide clients with exposure to Bitcoin and crypto. On June 26, CoinShares Chief Strategy Officer Meltem Demirors highlighted at least 8 major financial institutions that have signaled moves in the digital asset space, including BlackRock's Spot Bitcoin ETF filing and Fidelity's crypto wealth management solutions. Others include JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, BNY Mellon, Invesco, and Bank of America. Many of the largest financial institutions in the U.S. are actively working to provide access to Bitcoin and more, she noted, adding that there is a whopping $27 trillion in assets under management between them. Hello, and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, Gareth Soloway shares his view on the future of Bitcoin and whether we will face a bear market coming or we are at the beginning of a new bull run cycle. So without further ado, let's get started with the video.
Concept that what we have here in technical analysis is called a wedge pattern, which is higher lows and lower highs. And so it creates, and you can see I have a couple of the other lines. This was the breakout line we discussed where it was clearly breaking out once it got through that like 49% level. And then this is kind of the target zone that you and I agree on, which is that 60, 59% where you have pivot point, and then that creates that trend line, and then the downsloping one going back to the dominance prior. And I think you made a great point is that, you know, so many of these investors have come in after 2020 in terms of Bitcoin, so they don't remember a period when Bitcoin dominance was so massive, so dominant, if you will. And I think it's important because people are like, oh, well, the alts will at some point rally back. And that may be the case, but it may be longer than people think. And Bitcoin may be more dominant for a longer period of time. One thing on, and I know you have some amazing charts to show on kind of like how many views things were getting during the 2020 kind of period when so many people came into Bitcoin. But when you have a wedge pattern like what we have here, the ultimate aspect is that you're going to get eventually these two lines, and I'm going to get rid of this one as well. But you see these two lines, and if I go to my weekly chart, you can see it even more so. Eventually price, so these two lines will meet at some point in the future, right? A triangle, you have the two lines getting closer and closer. And what that's going to cause is it's either going to cause a breakdown or a breakout. In this case, I would not be surprised to see a breakout in this scenario. Granted, it could still be 3-6 months away, but at some point, a wedge pattern like this is very likely to break out to the upside. So 60% will be resistance, but don't discount the possibility that it could eventually break through that and go back to previous levels that we haven't seen for years. And that goes back to kind of what I'd love for you to show. Let me show your chart here, is kind of the numbers in relation to how many people came in when Bitcoin dominance was already collapsing. And I guess the highest it was ever since your chart is showing when those massive spikes was 2021. And the highest it was about 72%, and it was collapsing, right?
BTC price reached a 2023 high of $31,185 on June 24 amid surging confidence, according to CoinGecko. Demirors, however, noted that while the institutions are coming, it's still more of a trickle than a wave. We're seeing the bridges being built in real time, she added. It should be noted that the $27 trillion figure is an estimation of the total assets under management across the 8 institutions, and only a tiny portion of this would likely be allocated to crypto investments. Nevertheless, Reflexivity Research co-founder Will Clementi still echoed Demirors' sentiment, pointing out that Bitcoin's market capitalization is less than $600 billion. Between HSBC, BlackRock, Fidelity, and Schwab, we are talking about $25 trillion in assets under management that will soon be enabled to buy Bitcoin.
This is my chart of Ethereum, and one of the things to take note of is you had this downsloping, which is what you were pointing out, this downsloping channel, right? So So you have this line here and these, and it basically creates a parallel channel on Ethereum. We've broken above that and we have sideways chop. Look at where it's occurring, right at that previous sideways chop area before we fell down. So yes, short term, these sideways candles are actually known as a bull flag. And then this channel is actually a bullish channel. So in this case, I would refer to this as a micro bull pattern within a macro. And micro means very small. So that's that 5 candle sideways action within the bigger macro, the bigger pattern as well. So interestingly enough, like you were saying, is at least for now, if you can break above Ethereum at $1,915, there's a decent chance that you could run maybe back to the 2130 level on Ethereum. So there is a side here where Ethereum may see a little bit of a run up. And that also brings in other altcoins. Is if Ethereum runs, do we see a bounce in altcoins? And one of the thought processes that I have is that we have started to see a little bit of a follow through where Bitcoin's gotten stronger and it's kind of trailed off. Now, I don't think you're going to get the same run in some of these altcoins as you will get out of these quality names. But it is an interesting little concept to think that there's money that eventually will say, okay, Bitcoin's had a run. Do we run back just for a quick bounce on some of these altcoins like a Polygon and some of these other ones? One of my issues that I've been struggling with is like, okay, well, how many years of Bitcoin cycles do we have? 3 cycles in total? And then you have this scenario where the Fed just a week ago or a week and a half ago, they were like, hey, we probably are going to raise 2 more times. And then interest rates aren't going to fall for, I don't know, a year after that or something like that. Number one, do we believe the Fed? I mean, I personally don't really believe them. But what I do believe is that if inflation stays high, it handcuffs them somewhat, right? And then does that impact the cycles that we've seen since we have so few to go by? I mean, when you go to the stock market, you have 100 plus years of cycles versus crypto market.
Circle's co-founder and CDO, Jeremy Allaire, expects the new wave of Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, ETFs, to be approved as past concerns of regulators are being addressed. I believe progress is being made with more mature market structures that would support something like that. You got mature spot markets, well-regulated custody infrastructure, and good market surveillance, he said during an interview with Bloomberg at the World Economic Forum. Many of the past concerns are being addressed, suggesting that these kinds of products are more likely to be approved for general investor access. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has received multiple spot Bitcoin ETF applications from blue-chip asset managers such as BlackRock, BLK, and Invesco, IVZ. Many believe that the creation of a market surveillance mechanism is the secret sauce to getting these spot ETFs approved, much like how regulators in Ontario wanted to see a mature custody ecosystem in place before approving the first Bitcoin ETFs to trade in Toronto. ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, BITO. A Bitcoin futures fund recorded the highest weekly inflow in over a year, with investors pouring in $65 million, CoinDesk recently reported, demonstrating that the asset class still has considerable interest from investors. During the interview with Bloomberg, Allaire also said that Circle is seeing demand for digital dollars in emerging markets.
So I have one more thing I want to bring up, and I kind of want to discuss, at least in regards to crypto and a risk out there. And this is something that I've been kind of dealing with and thinking about, and it's this. It's FedNow, instant payments, debuting in July, so literally within days. And for me, it's like, so Florida, I live in Florida, and Florida has already basically banned CBDCs, right? So, and we know the term CBDC is like, it's like, you don't want to touch it. Like no government official wants to even mention that term. But when I look at this and I say, wait, instant payments across, like I can send you instantly money, you can send me instantly money. Is this a backdoor to a CBDC basically? And then the question I would say is that like the SEC has been very quiet for the last couple weeks, right? And they came out attacking. I don't believe they're done. Like there is no way that was it. There's going to be other stuff, whether it's against Binance, whether it's against the rest of crypto. And the question is so many of these exchanges make you trade Bitcoin and Ethereum in USDT, right? Or USDC. What if all of a sudden you have this option? Does that make stable coins irrelevant? And does that create a potential crash scenario if people all of a sudden are exiting? Let's say Tether is no longer tethered to $1.
So what's your price prediction for Bitcoin at the end of 2023? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.